We're just going to wait a couple of minutes for any stragglers. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, we might as well get going, and anyone who's late can join us. You may have spotted we're also streaming this as a webinar for potential international students. But whether you're in the room or online, I just want to firstly start by welcoming everyone to Swansea, especially those who are not from Swansea, of course, but especially welcome you to Swansea University today. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview about these three particular programs: Population Health and Medical Sciences, Applied Medical Sciences, and Medical Pharmacology. So just to get a feel for who's in the room, who is interested in medical pharmacology? Yeah, we've got some medical pharmacology interest. What about Applied Medical Sciences? And do we have anybody for Population Health and Medical Sciences? It is our baby program, so we expect fewer people in the room to be interested in that. So I just introduced myself. So, oops. My name is Professor Cathy Thornton, and I'm head of Swansea University Medical School at the moment. And for anyone who's interested, I walked the path that many of you are interested in walking, doing an undergraduate degree. I did biochemistry, what feels like a squillion years ago. And then I progressed to doing a PhD, and I'm a research academic here at the university, although I spend most of my time managing the medical school these days. So you've sort of come to Swansea today because you're interested in our degrees and potentially studying at Swansea University. So there's many reasons for wanting to study at Swansea University, but from an academic perspective, we've got some of those accolades related to the league tables that you'll all be familiar with. These are from the Guardian league tables, and you can see that that Swansea University is ranked top in Wales in terms of the Guardian University Guide 2024. We're ranked 4th in the UK for medicine. And this is about 34 medical schools at the moment. There are 5 new medical schools that don't get factored into this yet because they haven't completed training students. And then many of you will be interested in the biomedical science programs that we're talking about today. And you can see that we're top in Wales for the biomedical science programs as well. It's very hard to know where to put these little pictures because you don't want to detract from the lovely scenery of Singleton campus there. But you'll know there's lots of league tables from lots of different media groups. Those were from The Guardian, which are just replicated on the far right of the slide. But we've got here from the Complete University Guide, especially for those interested in medical pharmacology, ranked 12th for pharmacology and pharmacy. And we can see that 12th ranking for biomedical sciences. The key thing is that there's a number of these different league tables, and we do consistently well in them, which just reflects the happiness and satisfaction of our students and the quality of our sort of teaching and learning resources as well. You can see down the middle here, we have world university rankings. So this is not just looking at the UK, this is looking at the universities across the entire planet. And you can see for biological sciences here, which includes many of our programs that we're talking about today, we're ranked top 300 in the world. And for medicine, we're also ranked top 300 in the world. And our pharmacy degree is relatively new, but in its first outing, it's managed to rank in the university rankings, which is great. And then you can again see some more league table accolades down here from the Times, Sunday Times league table. And again, 5th in the UK for medicine, 9th in the UK for subjects allied to medicine, which is the ones we're talking about today. And then 7th in the UK for anatomy and physiology, which relates to some elements of our applied medical sciences. So consistently recognized as offering great student experience and a good learning environment. So you may have had the chance to walk around and see some of our facilities today, or you're going to take a little bit of time to do that. But these are the facilities we have within the Faculty of Medicine, Health and Life Science, but particularly in the medical school. Here we have a You can see our teaching units at the local hospitals. We've got Singleton Hospital, which is just over here. We have teaching facilities in there. And then we have teaching facilities out at Morrison Hospital. They will be particularly used by anyone who goes on to study graduate entry medicine. But you can see these other pictures here from different parts of the campus that we're on today, Singleton campus. Here we've got our imaging facility, which is over an Institute of Life Science 2 on the west side of campus. And we've got an MRI scanner there, and we've got a CT scanner. We do lots of research and clinical trials in there, but we also use it for teaching on some elements of our programs, particularly if you're doing something in the space of neuroscience, for example, because we use it to image the brain. You can see our clinical skills facility, not something you'll get much exposure to in the programs we're talking about in this room today. But if you go on to study some kind of allied health profession, medicine, physiotherapy in the future, then this is the kind of space that you're going to get lots of training in. Here's our anatomy suite, and there'll be an opportunity for some of you to look at that today. It's particularly relevant for our applied medical sciences student who will do anatomy in their first year. But of course, we also use it for training our graduate entry medicine students, our physician associates, as well as paramedics and nurses in other parts of the faculty. Down here, we've got a picture of some very fancy, very expensive equipment. And if you're going to choose that research pathway because you aspire to be a researcher of the future, you're going to get exposed to these types of equipment and get the opportunity to use them in the third year of your project. Exactly which equipment you get exposed to and get to use will very much depend on the project that you choose to do and develop with your supervisor. But we'll talk about that more as we go on. And this is our laboratories. We have research laboratories like that, but also teaching laboratories. And you're going to get a flavor of the teaching laboratories after this session with me today. So you can go in and actually be in the environment that our students, our undergraduates, do their practicals in and get a real flavor of what it's like to do one of those practicals. And we do have facilities outside beyond Swansea, but they're really much more for our healthcare programs, particularly the training of our doctors. So these are the three courses we're focused on today: the BSc Applied Medical Sciences, Population Health and Medical Sciences, and Medical Pharmacology. And I'm going to go through and give you a little flavor of each of them. They have some commonalities, but they all have their unique selling features that make them the program that you may be interested in doing. And all of them have a foundation year, which is particularly important as we're thinking about A-level outcomes as we go into August. So why would you do these degrees with us here at Swansea University? We spent a lot of effort in trying to tailor these degrees to maximize your opportunities after you finish those degrees with us. So we work with learned societies, and you can see two examples here: the Royal Society of Biology and the British Pharmacological Society, to make sure that the content of our degrees is appropriate for the careers that you may have in the future, that those degrees enable you to pursue. We work with potential future employers to make sure that the kind of skills training that they need are incorporated into our degree programs. Similarly, we work with industry. Medical pharmacology is a great example of where you may work in the pharmaceutical industry in the future, and we want to make sure that the skills you learn during that degree are what those pharmaceutical company employers want in the future. And we spend a lot of time backwards and forwards with our students, making sure that our students are happy with the content. We incorporate ideas they may have in terms of adding and removing content as well. So lots of progress, and we do review every module and every program on an annual basis, just to capture any changes in those needs. So how are you going to be taught as you do your degree with us here in Swansea University? So in year one, we're going to give you the fundamentals that are going to be the foundation for what you go on to learn in year 1 and 2, and year 2 and 3, sorry. And you're going to get those core scientific skills. You're going to spend a bit of time in laboratory practicals, both wet laboratory practicals where you'll have test tubes and buffers and reagents, but also dry laboratory settings where you'll learn how to make dilutions, and you may use some physiology analysis kit, for example. So those are going to give you the foundation to move into year 2, and you're going to move into looking at group skills and employability strands. And I said it to the group this morning, every year the students hate the thought of doing group work. Most of us do. We hate being thrust into a group of people we don't know and expected to, highlight our understanding and knowledge of a particular area. But it's how the world works. Once we head into the graduate world of our careers, we will be expected to work with people that we're not familiar with and drive enterprise and innovation through those routes. So lots of group skill work, and the students learn how to manage that situation. And we'll talk very specifically about the different employability strands that we have running through our programs as we go through the rest of today. And then in year 3, we're sort of building to independence, lots of independent skills development, and you get to do an independent research project. Now you're doing a research project that is going to generate hopefully new knowledge. It's not like the laboratory practicals where you kind of do standard laboratory practicals with expected outcomes to teach you the skills that you need. Now you're actually going to apply those skills in a much more real world setting. You're going to develop a project that's tailored to your, growing interests, the thing that you want to do when you graduate. And you're going to work with your academic supervisor to maximize that individual tailoring of that project to your own interests. And you're going to have to manage your own time and all of those things that come with that as well. So that sort of highlights this medical science research pathway that we have running through our programs. As I said, there's a number of programs, and I'm going to give you a flavor of each of those now. So this is our medical science research pathway for those who are a bit like me, who want to go on and be a researcher and work in a lab and, do all kinds of research related to whatever their specialty topic of interest is. And so you're going to acquire those skills as you go through your degree. You're going to acquire them in the first year, then you're going to build on those in the second and third year until you do that independent project in the third year. So we will make sure that we keep you up to date with current and emerging themes in medical sciences. And an example of that is a module I teach at the moment, which is human biology and the environment. So what we're teaching at the moment is about the impact of climate change on our biology and on our health. We've talked about our response to extreme heat. We talk about our response to air pollution. We talk about our response to microplastics. These are very contemporary issues, and they're going to impact on whatever career choice you make in the future. You're going to build your laboratory techniques and skills from fairly basic at the outset to much more complex and enhanced as you move through the years. You're going to do those practical sessions throughout the program, and you're going to have mini projects as you go through, leading to that third year project where you have that real independent opportunity. You need to learn the basics of experimental design. How do I plan a proper experiment, through to how do I implement that experiment, and then how do I interpret that experiment? There's a vast scientific literature out there. There's squillions of journals publishing research papers all the time. There's digital media, social media, sharing resources as well. How do I take that, understand it, and interpret it is a key skill to acquire during this time. Your writing as a scientist will be developed during this time as well. It's a slightly different way to writing an English literature essay, but you need good writing skills and to be able to communicate that science. And you're going to obviously get used to that environment of peer review and feedback. As you progress through, you're going to have the opportunity to write little research grants and get feedback and offer peer-to-peer feedback as well. There's obviously that direct set of skills that you're going to acquire during that time, but with any program, you're going to get a whole host of transferable skills as well. And you can see those listed here. We're going to improve your numeracy and your understanding and use of information technology. Obviously, as you progress, there's a lot of self-management skill required throughout there. You're going to have to think about those prioritizing in your final year research project. How do I fit that in amongst my lecture learning and everything else that I'm trying to do in third year as well? And we're going to spend a bit of time working with you to prepare you for postgraduate study opportunities if you're interested in that research pathway in particular, maybe progressing to an MSc and eventually progressing to a PhD. So lots of transferable skills as well, which of course come with all of our pathways. Another pathway we have is this enterprise and innovation pathway, and that's really for the budding entrepreneurs, the people who have amazing ideas and want to progress those ideas into application in the wider world. And this will help you become an entrepreneur, develop your creative thinking skills, drive your understanding of how you go through venture capture and into commercialization, all the while building to this Swansea Entrepreneurial Leadership Award. And we have this bespoke module where students would do that module if they're interested in this particular pathway. And again, lots of transferable skills, a slightly different addition of transferable skills that we saw in the previous pathway. You've now got those technical managerial type skills, which are unique particularly to this pathway. And the students who do particularly well on this module, the 3 top performing students on this module, will have the chance to work with our School of Management, which is down in the Bay, and they have in the Bay campus, and they have lots of activity around enterprise and innovation, and they have lots of links with lots of companies and venture capitalists, and they can give you a real opportunity to get that summer placement opportunity in that setting. So that's our entrepreneurship our enterprise and innovation pathway. And you can see, you know, there's associations with some of the pharmaceutical companies there as well. Something like Pfizer is heavily involved in that program. Then we have our medical science in practice pathway. So this is the core of our pathways to medicine for those students who are aspiring to go on and do graduate entry medicine. Not just graduate entry medicine, but also subjects allied to medicine. So we will have students who do this pathway because they aspire to do physiotherapy, for example. We will have students who go on and do our physician associates master's program, but also lots of other healthcare professions can lead on from this particular module, this particular pathway. And so we have this specific module in the second year for those students who are on what we call our pathways to medicine. And it's this module here. It's called Doctors, Patients, and the Goals of Medicine. It really offers insight into what it's actually like to work for a doctor and work in the NHS in the UK. And it's led by a current consultant who's practicing in the local health board as well. So it offers real insight into working with patients, working with other healthcare professions in that interdisciplinary professional setting, and, you know, a real insight into actually working in the NHS today. So lots about the contemporary practice of medicine, evidence-based medicine, professional practice, all of the ethical framework, other regulatory framework that is involved with working as a doctor. It gives you the opportunity to undertake a clinical placement and shadow a doctor and embed yourself in a clinical environment during that time. And to be able to do this particular module, you have to do really well at the first year. You've got to achieve a greater than 60% average to be able to actually enroll onto this module and to continue to pursue the pathway to medicine. And if you do well on the program and you do well in that module, and then you do well in the GAMSAT exam, and we set criteria for those, for the GAMSAT in particular, if you meet a minimum entry criteria that's formed up of those three components, then you're guaranteed an interview for our graduate entry medicine program here at Swansea. Not a guaranteed place, but a guaranteed interview. And it's that combination of achieving a 2-1 on the program, doing well in that module, and achieving the criteria, the minimum entry criteria we set for the GAMSAT. And so our graduate entry medicine program is an accelerated 4-year degree. And there was a talk earlier today, which maybe some of you went to during your time here today. So on the next one, we've just got a little video talking about using our undergraduate programs, particularly the pathway to medicine element, as a 5th choice for those who may be thinking about their UCAS application. You can put down 4 medical schools. If you're thinking about medicine, you've got a 5th choice. Maybe think about one of our pathways to medicine program as a bit of a safety net should you not get into your choice from A level. So this just explains that a little bit more. No? No sound. It's very quiet for the first few seconds. You think it's not going to work, and then it worked this morning.
Can't see down there. Can you see that?
I'll see, you can see it. I've got them out of my face.
Let me just hang on. Just come out there a second. Can I come out there? Can I unshare?
You can stop sharing.
Just a second. See if it works now. Is that how it was working this morning?
It worked beautifully this morning.
It did work perfectly this morning. Just come out that second.
So it's really just going to explain in more detail what I just described. If you're thinking about doing medicine and you're still to do a UCAS application in the future, you can put down 4 medical schools. You have a 5th choice. And so you can, you know, kind of plan ahead for if you don't get into any of those medical schools, giving you the opportunity to do an undergraduate degree ahead of doing a graduate degree in the future.
No, what we'll do is we'll send the link out because it doesn't seem to want to play this afternoon. Apologies.
I need to share screen.
Oh yeah, we do. Awesome.
Sorry, I'll put it down there so people don't see me on the screen.
Which one we share? That one. Screen 2. Is that the right one, Bethany?
And then hide those.
Yeah, we'll send you the
Okay.
link following today so you can watch the video.
Okay, so then, of course, you may be interested in who'll be teaching me. You'll meet some of them today. The key things for people in the room today would be, we have Dr. Aidan Seeley here, who is the Program Director for Medical Pharmacology degree. And we have Dr. Kate Chapman, who is the Program Director for our Applied Medical Sciences degree. We have Louise here, who is our Program Director for Population and Medical Sciences, but I don't think we have any budding students for that program here today. Other key people would be Aled here, Dr. Roberts, who's the admissions tutor and the AMS Year 1 lead. So you'd have a lot to do with him in the first year of your degree. And Dr. Francis here, who is the lead for our academic mentoring program. All of our students, when they join us, will be assigned what we call now a personal tutor, an academic who will look after that student throughout the degree, help them with any academic support and any other support they may need during those few years that they are with us. We've got a few more on this page. And again, the key people here are probably, for anyone who comes to us through the foundation year, they would get supported by Dr. Jess Fletcher, who's our foundation year lead. And those students doing AMS, the year 2 lead, where you really start to think about those pathways. Am I pathways to medicine? Am I pathways to research? And so on. Dr. Sarah Pryor may be particularly helpful to you there. But this is not a complete list of everyone who's going to teach you. I teach everybody in second year, for example, and would teach many of our students in third year. And there's lots of people who dip in and out of the program like me as well. So I'm now going to go through each of the programs to give you a little bit of a flavor of what they're all like. And then there's an opportunity. If you really have a burning question, please stop and ask, but I'm also here at the end. You can stop and ask me on your way out as well. So applied medical sciences, for those who are interested, is clearly the science that underpins medicine. And you're going to actually take this very translational approach. You're going to move from the bench when you're doing your laboratory practicals, starting to learn how cells respond to stimuli, what that means for tissue function, what that means for organ function, and if you have organ dysfunction, how that may be linked to disease, for example. So a really translational journey, right from the very basic understanding of science through to its application in a clinical setting. And you're going to take a really hands-on approach through all that. You'll see the anatomy suite. We have lots of models where you can actually, pull apart the human body. We have lots of simulated learning as well. So you can really get to grips with those basics before you go anywhere near some kind of application of it, be that application in research or application in the practice of medicine. And there's lots of different teaching and assessment methods we will use with you along the way, and they will change over the course of the program as you become more skilled as you progress. What are the kinds of things you're going to study when you do this particular program? This is not an exhaustive list. It's a little flavor of the things you get to do. In year 1 on applied medical sciences, you would do physiology and anatomy, and that would give you really good foundations if you go on to study medicine or some other kind of healthcare profession. But it may be very worthwhile if you're going to study research and do research in the future and you want to understand organ systems or some basics of anatomy as well. You'll get an introduction to medical psychology as well and start getting insights into sort of behaviors that impact on health, for example. In year 2, you're going to do a bit more deep dive. That first year is giving you a kind of overview of every organ system. And in year 2, you can do a deep dive into each of those in more detail. So we've got examples on there of the cardiovascular system and neuroscience, where you look at the nervous system as well. We have a module there on communicating medical sciences, which we offer across all of our programs. And this is fundamentally important to be able to communicate your science. You need to be able to communicate it. You need to be able to go home and explain to your parents what you're doing at university and what you're studying. You need to be able to explain to the wider public scientific concepts and scientific issues. And if you go on to work in healthcare, you're going to be able to need to speak to patients and your peers and have really good written and oral communication skills. And we have human immunology as well, of course. That's the one I teach in the second year. And then in third year, again, you're going into a little bit more depth on some of these topics. There's a lot more optional choices, a lot more options available to you because you're now starting to tailor the degree a little bit more to your personal interests that have developed over the preceding 2 years and what you're hoping to do when you graduate. And so you can see some examples here. There's the sweet sickness, which is very much focused on diabetes. Thinking about type 2 diabetes, for example, it's a huge health issue on the planet today. I've already mentioned human biology and the environment. We think about the impact of climate change. We think about the impact of obesity. We think about the impact of aging and different sexes on human biology and what that means. We have nanotoxicology on offer here, which you'll also see in medical pharmacology. Nanotoxicology relates to understanding how very, 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 very small things affect the function of our cells and therefore our tissues and our organs. And there's lots of push for the development of nanoparticles, nanomedicines, and this is really to help us understand the benefits and the detrimental effects of these very small particles on human cells and human biology. And of course, in the third year, you're going to get that opportunity to do what we call the capstone project. You're going to do this third year study in-depth research project where you now get to do real research. You get your first immersion into what it's actually like to work as someone doing research. You get to develop a project with your supervisor, and then you get to execute that project either in a wet laboratory setting, or it could be a database project, or it could be some kind of clinical trials-based project aligned to ongoing activity we have in the medical school. So you work with your supervisor to develop a project that has real personal resonance and reflects your interests and your aspirations as well. And all of our third-year students get to do that. So this is the typical offer we have for applied medical sciences. You can see the UCAS code there, and you can see it's AAB to ABB at A level for the 3-year program. And you need biology or chemistry and one other STEM subject. And you can see the other STEM subjects are maths, physics, and psychology down in the bottom right-hand corner of the slide here. You can see the requirements if you're coming through the BTEC route. And of course, if you're coming with Irish Leaving Certificate or Scottish Highers or other degree program, other school programs, then we will discuss with you and we can look at your case, look at your circumstances on a case-by-case basis. And I want to really stress that if you've got any questions and you have any concerns about, you know, your outcomes are not looking like they're going to, like you're hoping them to be, you've got other circumstances coming into play and impacting on your expected results, please reach out to us and have a conversation with us. We're very amenable, very approachable, and very happy to talk through people's individual circumstances and see what we can put together for you in terms of an offer. And you can see our foundation year here, which is UCAS B146. And then you would have a typical offer of the BBB to CCD. And again, the same subject requirement prerequisite there, biology or chemistry, and one other STEM subject. Lots of students will have both biology and chemistry, but we'll see biology and maths, biology and physics, and so on. So, and then you can see the GCSE requirement for the grade C minimum in English and maths on the right-hand side as well. So thinking about our medical pharmacology degree, what is medical pharmacology? And medical pharmacology, as you would all know, is really this sort of thinking about the science of drugs, understanding how drugs work. It's not pharmacy, which is, you know, relates to the use of drugs in a clinical setting and the dispensing of drugs and understanding how these drugs are used in different to treat different symptoms. This is about understanding how drugs work. If I take this drug, why does it have this effect? What does it do to cells? What does it do to tissues? What does it do to the function of an organ, and so on? And again, we take that very translational approach that I've just described for applied medical sciences, this whole bench to bedside, going into my laboratory practicals, doing experiments to understand why drug A has this effect, but then thinking about, well, if I take that same drug and give it to people, it has this effect, and putting those two bits together. And you're thinking about the use and development of drugs as medicines and as tools. So how do we use drugs therapeutically? We all know about going to the pharmacy and getting our prescription. Well, what do those drugs actually do and how do they achieve it? And can we make better drugs, of course? And we can use drugs to help us discover how our body works. We can use drugs to inhibit different pathways inside cells and inform how a particular organ system is working. And of course, it's not just about the pharmaceuticals that we use to treat disease. It's all about how drugs can be harmful and how chemicals can be harmful as well, and how chemicals and drugs can be harmful in some settings and beneficial in others. So our medical pharmacology degree has been developed alongside the British Pharmacological Society core curriculum. So this just makes sure that the content chimes with the needs of the industries and employment opportunities that the students who graduate from this degree will have. And these are the core requirements of that related to the attitudes, skills, and knowledge of our students. And we're constantly reviewing that and checking our program against that. And this just assures that the students have been trained with the skills that they will need to have those graduate opportunities when they finish this degree. So what am I going to study if I do this? Again, just a flavor. It's not an exhaustive look at what the content of the program is. But of course, you'll always have those introductory elements in the first year, getting everybody up to the same level of understanding and knowledge and insight. But here's an example of the introduction to toxicology and a introduction to the importance of the dose of a drug. The dose of a drug can have a huge impact on the efficacy and the effect of that drug. And so that introduces you to some of those basic concepts in toxicology and pharmacology. In year 2, again, you're going into more detail about your pharmacology. You've got that module there called pharmacogenomics, which is really about personal medicine. Some drugs work better in some populations than they do in other populations. And that may be to do because of different genetic underpinnings of those different populations. And this is really important in cancer therapies today. Some therapies will work better in some people because of the type of cancer cells they have and their underpinning response to those cancer cells. And so a drug that works in one group may be very ineffectual in another group, and we need to understand that. And then advances in toxicology. What are the drugs in development and how do they work, and how do we get involved in the design and delivery of those into use? And then in third year, again, you're going into more depth, you've got a bit more choice, you're building a sort of suite of modules that best suit your aspirations and your interests. And so you've got advances in pharmacology. You can go specifically into cancer. We've already talked about cancer today. There's a huge need for people with an understanding of pharmacological applications in cancer, development of new treatments, for example. Then we'll talk about drug development and regulation, because many students doing this degree may be interested in going on to be people who discover new drugs and get those drugs into development and into use in human populations. And we'll go more into nanotoxicology, as I described, in applied medical sciences. And you'll get to do that capstone project again. You'll get to do that third year study in depth, where you really get in and get a real world research experience. And again, it's very much tailored to your personal interests and your aspirations. And you work alongside an academic supervisor with some specialty in the area who is going to train you in those extra special skills and support you through that process. Here's our typical offer for medical pharmacology. The key thing is to notice that it's the chemistry requirement here. You really do need to have chemistry from your A levels to be onto this program, both the 3-year program and the foundation year program, and then one other STEM subject, the biology, the maths, the physics, or the psychology. And you can see that the 3-year program offer is typically AAB to the BBB. And then down the bottom here, we've got the foundation year offer, which would be BBC to CCD. And again, there's the BTEC opportunity there, the other A-level type qualifications from across the country, and the GCSE requirements there as well. But I think the key thing is to have a conversation with the recruitment and admissions team if you've got any questions about these entry criteria. And the last one is population health and medical sciences. And this is the one that most people know the least about, because it's sort of one that is a recently emerging area of interest and of increasing need within the NHS, for example. So we're going to go through a little bit about what it is and then the kinds of things you would do if you were doing this program. So the clue is there on the map there, and I guess, and in the title of the degree. It's really about studying populations and understanding population level health. And a really good example of how a degree in population health medical sciences may serve you well in your career prospects is really from the COVID-19 pandemic. So all that information coming out of governments, UK government, Welsh government, Scottish government, much of the decision making was driven by population health approaches to understanding and modeling what the impact of different policies might be. What happens if we close schools? What happens if we make everybody stay at home? What happens when we introduce a vaccination program? How do we model that vaccination program by age groups and vulnerable populations? Shielding is part of this process as well. So that's a really good example of the kind of skills that this particular degree would give you. So it really seeks to develop new knowledge and effective strategies to improve health and well-being by studying large populations. It's very data science based project, and it takes lots of that data that's collected about us all the time and is anonymized and collates it all, and you can study huge populations, and you can look at differences in the response of the most deprived people versus the least deprived people who live in Wales versus people who live in Scotland versus people who live in England versus people who live in other parts of the world. So really high scale data driven approaches. And one of the key things is to address those health inequalities that occur across our planet by better understanding them. And we put it together with medical sciences because you're then in the unique position of being able to do the population health and understand what these patterns are, and then to do the medical sciences to understand why those patterns occur and what you may do about addressing those patterns. So it's not just public health, because public health is really about addressing a health need, an immediate health need in your population. Public Health Wales responds to COVID-19, for example. So population health is really trying to understand why there are those disparities in populations related to health outcomes in particular. And you can do other kinds of population studies that aren't very health-centric. We have lots of non-health population work as well, which may relate to why children achieve differentially at school, for example. And so we put it together with medical sciences, as I said, so you can do both sides. You can do the population studies that show you what the problems are, and then you can do the medical sciences that helps you understand maybe why the problems are and what you may be able to do about those problems. And again, we're taking that genotype to phenotype approach, much like we've done with our other programs, this sort of basic through to translational through to applied. So we go right from the particle, those nanoparticles, for example, through to the person, how I'm responding to those nanoparticles, through to the population. How do the health of people who live near a factory making those nanoparticles differ to people who live far away from those factories, just as an example. So again, a little bit of detail about what we study, but not an exhaustive list. And again, lots of foundational knowledge to give you a really good basis for progressing from year 1 into year 2 and year 3. So lots of introductory stuff around what population health is, what digital health is. A lot of this is data driven, and it's using data that's gathered all the time about all of us. This is held in great big databases. So being able to manage the computer side of it and the digital side of it is really important. And then lots of community medicine, because you're going to work in lots of different community settings as you progress through here. Year 2, we're going to go again a little bit deeper. We're going to build on those foundations. We're looking at health services research. This is really all about how the NHS in the UK, for example, would deliver its health service provision. We have people who work specially in ensuring that we do as much research as we can around GPs and primary care to maximize the efficiency and efficacy of those. And then at the extreme ends in terms of emergency medicine, for example. As an example, we've just got one of our researchers in health service research has just got a very large project to look at ways of improving ambulance waiting times outside A&E. So we can all see the value in that. And that's the kind of research that sits in this space of population health and medical sciences. And then you've got things like healthy mind, healthy body, the link between physical health and mental health, and then population health management solutions and strategies. So again, thinking about all that data, how do we manage all that data, and how do we make sure that data is really well recorded? I've looked at some of the data these guys start with, and there'll be examples in there of women who've had pregnancies that lasted 52 weeks. And you look at it, well, they can't have had a pregnancy that lasted 52 weeks. There's a mistake in the data being entered, and there needs to be sense checking of the data and all those kinds of things. So there's babies that weighed 17 kilos, you know, it's just, and so you have to go back. Of course, that was the baby that would have weighed 1.7 kilos, and there was a little typo. So it's really trying to maximize the gathering of that data and the sense checking of that data as well. And in the final year, again, you're going to more options. You're starting to tailor it to your personal interests and your aspirations. And you'll see things here like mental health literacy if you're interested in a much more mental health focus to your career in the future than physical health focus. Global health, thinking beyond the UK, beyond Europe, and thinking about, you know, things in terms of the whole planet. And you get that capstone project opportunity. And lots of the students in this space will go in with our data scientists and do projects with our fabulous databases of all of this amazing data about health and non-health situations, all very well anonymized so that you can't identify a single person in them. So here we have the typical offer. We have AAB to BBB for the 3-year degree. And then down the bottom here, you can see we have BBC to CCD for the foundation year. And you can see for the third year degree, we have biology is essential, but here you don't need chemistry. You can have any, and you don't need another STEM subject necessarily. You can have things like economics, geography, philosophy, sociology for this particular degree. For the honours, for the foundation year, because we share our foundation year across all of our programs, you'll see here that biology or chemistry can be your entry here. And then you need a second subject from one of those suite of programs listed or subjects listed down the bottom here. And again, you can see the BTEC offer, etc. in the middle, and then the GCSE requirements down the right-hand side. And so I've touched on this a lot as we've gone through today, hopefully that you've appreciated that we have this foundation year opportunity for students who don't quite get their grades at A level. And again, we encourage you to speak to us, even if you don't quite get your grades at A level, that your conditional offer may be on, please speak to us about what the options are in terms of other experiences you may have had, personal circumstances that may have contributed to that. The key message is to please speak to us if you've got any specific questions or any specific concerns about your offer, about your marks when they come out in August. So we have this foundation year, which offers that additional year, that foundational year prior to joining the 3-year programs, just to give you a bit more time to acquire more knowledge, more skills, and more insight into the university environment. Or for some people, it might be a really good opportunity. If they're a mature student and they're wanting to move back into education, it may be a good stepping stone into re-immersing yourself into that learning environment. And it's going to, again, give you that basic knowledge that's going to take you in to the 3-year program. And if you get 60% in that foundation year, then you can progress onto the year 1 program for our BSc. We have a common foundation program for all of these degrees, and we share it with pharmacy. The pharmacy students will have a couple of extra bits, but we have a lot of sharing of the content in our foundation year for our students. You can still benefit from the pathway to medicine. For anyone who may be wondering about that, you can still not do as well at your A levels as you had hoped, not even get onto a BSc degree, but get onto a foundation program and progress to the BSc program and progress through to the graduate into medicine. And we have students who have done that. So that pathway to medicine is still available to you. And you can see the typical offer for the foundation year here, the BBC to CCD. And from the previous few slides, you should have spotted that the key subjects are the biology and the chemistry. But as I've already said, please speak to us. We make individual offers based on circumstances after reading personal statements, references, and so on. So please, please speak to us. Some of you will already have offers from us for the coming academic year, so congratulations to you. And most of you will have until June to decide which course to choose as your firm and insurance choice ahead of A-level results day. And then hopefully you're using the open day today to find out a little bit more about the university, a little bit more about the degree, and maybe get some of your questions answered. And as we've already said, please speak to our recruitment and admissions teams today, in the future, call back, email, really reach out if you've got any concerns, questions, queries about any aspect of studying at Swansea University. Swansea is really well recognised for its flexible approach. I think we even have featured on BBC Breakfast a few years ago in clearing because of our flexible approach. So please talk to us. And on clearing day, for example, when you come through to the university, you will speak to somebody specifically in the medical school if your query relates to program in the medical school. You won't go into a central call centre typically if everything's working. So please, please reach out and ask questions. If you're still yet to apply, there's still plenty of time to apply for September 24 entry. There's UCAS extra opening at the end of the month. And of course, there's clearing after results day in August. And again, just stressing, reach out to the recruitment team and the admissions team. So we talked about the degrees, and now we're going to think about what that degree might lead to in the future. One of the ones that's obvious is the health professions. We have that pathways to medicine. We have students who will go on and study medicine. We have students who go on and study physiotherapy, physician associates, and so on. Lots of opportunities in that space. But we also have lots of students who progress into academic research style degrees, careers very much like my own, but those who might move into pharmaceutical companies working on regulation, working at the bench in a pharmaceutical company, developing new drugs and new therapies. Some will move into patents law. We've had example of students who do a little bit of an extra qualification once they finish their degree, and they could become work in patent law, assessing people's applications for protection of their work through patents. And lots of these relate to the development of new medicines and new medical devices. And so your degree gives you a really good foundation in understanding the technology of their inventions. And then you can look at that from a patents perspective. We have lots of students who move into biotech, small, medium enterprises, developing specialist therapies, specialist devices. We have people who move into companies developing heart pumps. There's a company down the road that is developing treatments for neurodegenerative disease, and lots of our students progress into those kind of environments. Our students can progress into medical writing and all different kinds of research here and patient advocacy. And we have students who move into the brewing industry and the dairy industry because of those laboratory skills they have are really desired in those settings. And of course, lots of our students who do population health and medical sciences can move into population health analysis and health promotion type settings in particular. So lots of career prospects from these degrees. And we have a really strong employability strand that runs through these degrees. And we give students lots of exposure to different types of careers that their degrees will enable them to. So they'll be exposed to things they may not even have thought of when they started the degree. So of course, we're living in a time of cost of living concerns. So we're thinking about going to university. And of course, that brings some costs. So here we're looking at the different scholarships that are available to students. There's a huge variety of these, typically 1,000 to 3,000. You can see excellence scholarships here, merit scholarships based on A-level results. We have income-related bursaries, Welsh medium provision bursaries, which I'll touch on in the next slide. And then there's international scholarships, but there's also scholarships based on musicianship and sports that are available to our students as well. So lots of opportunities there. So reach out and ask questions of the recruitment team if you have any about that. We offer a lot of content through the medium of Welsh. Most of our all of our coursework can be offered if a student requests to do it in Welsh. And then we have modules that can be delivered entirely in Welsh as well. Not every module, but a good amount of content can be delivered in Welsh. So there's the opportunity if you're interested in Welsh medium education and experience. And we've been growing this offering year on year for the last 10, 15 years. And there's bespoke scholarships available for those doing during their studies through the medium of Welsh. And we have designated accommodation for Welsh speakers, so you can be accommodated with other Welsh speakers as well. And if you're not a Welsh speaker, there's always the opportunity to learn Welsh as well. And if you want to find more about it, may be getting a bit, there may be time. There is a bespoke session running on campus in the Digital Technium, which is over there is Fulton House, where the marquees are. On the other side of that is Digital Technium. So if you're interested in those Welsh opportunities, I encourage you to go and have a discussion with them about that. But lots of opportunity there. You've had a chance, hopefully, to walk around this campus, and maybe some of you will visit the other campus. But we have a really diverse and vibrant campus. We have staff and students from over 130 countries. I always say this at this point, I'm one of those staff from another country. I don't know if anyone can tell where I'm from. No. Oh, Australia. Yeah. So yeah, you're forgiven. You really are forgiven. We're doing some recruitment at the moment. I won't say it. I won't say it because we're on a webinar. But anyway, so lots of people from all over the place, and there are other Australians, but there are New Zealanders on campus. They are allowed on. So people from all over the planet are here. And then Swansea University is really dedicated to ensuring that sort of green, carbon neutral approach to everything we do. I think we're aiming for carbon zero by 2030, quite aspirational. And then here we can see that we're ranked 13th in the UK for a league table related to sustainability, and lots of effort on campus to maximize that. You can see down here, you can see the solar panels here on the surface of the buildings, and you may not spot as you walk around this campus, there are solar panels on the top of all of the buildings, for example. We have green flag status, lots of people can contribute to beach cleaning, and there's a zero waste shop on campus. And you'll go into the laboratories today and you'll see that there's a lot of plastic in laboratories. There's a lot of potential for plastic waste in laboratories. And we do as much as we can to minimize that. And we have gold awards for our efforts in doing that. So we take it very seriously. And then, of course, graduate prospects. We've touched on the degrees and how we tailor the degrees to become provides our students with the opportunity to make choices that best fit with their own aspirations. And part of this then leads to improved graduate prospects for our students. And I've been at Swansea University for 20 years now. And through the whole 20 years I've been here, Swansea University has routinely been quite high in graduate prospects. And so we very much pride ourselves on that. And you can see this is from What Uni Student Choice Awards 2023, 6th place for career prospects. And so they're proper graduate jobs. And so you can see lots of opportunities for our students, and they take those opportunities once they leave us. We also offer lots of support to our students. I've already talked about the fact that every student gets assigned a personal tutor. I will sometimes call it, we've just gone from being academic mentors to personal tutors. So we have personal tutors. So every student is assigned an academic who will sort of look after them for the duration of their degree. If there's a personality clash between the student and the academic, then we change it. And this academic will serve to do academic references for the student when they go on to postgraduate study, when they're applying to graduate entry medicine, when they're applying for jobs, when they finish. And so that relationship can be incredibly invaluable to the student as they progress through. There's also lots of services on campus related to supporting students with regard to faith and community, money, welfare, participation, and we have an extensive wellbeing service supporting students' mental health, lots of self-help resources, counselling is available to our students, and bespoke support for students with different disabilities, such as autism spectrum conditions, as an example on this slide. And we have wellbeing services for our staff as well, so they are equally supported as well. So there's the opportunity to, we have Go Global schemes, and some of our programs have study abroad opportunities within them. So there's plenty of opportunities for our students to take placement opportunities in the summertime, study abroad as part of their degrees, and really get that global education experience during their time with us. We've already touched on the cost of living. One of the big benefits of studying at Swansea University is the relatively cheap cost of living compared to many other parts of the UK. You can see up there the example of the average weekly rent, student bus pass here, things like gym membership. And you'll be able to ask that of our student ambassadors in a few moments as well, get some of the specific details. So cost of living, Swansea is a relatively good cost of living compared to many parts of the UK. We have accommodation on this campus, we have accommodation on Bay campus, and there's huge new accommodation facilities in the centre of Swansea as well. And we have a guaranteed accommodation offer that comes through to, runs through to the end of June, but Emma will give you more detail about that at the end. And there are accommodation tours running today on Singleton campus. So you can take the time to go and actually look at our accommodation offering and see what would be available to you. But as I said, there's also Bay campus, and there's also city centre accommodation as well. And this is really targeted now for the parents. What support is there for parents thinking about their child heading off to university? And so lots of opportunities to, speak to other parents, get support from the university about what it's going to be like for your parents. And I've been saying this for the last few years. My oldest son is 18. He dropped out of A-levels, didn't complete A-levels. So I look at all the parents in the room and I'm amazed by your skill and excellent parenting at getting your children to this stage. My son is doing fine, it's fine. It was the right thing for him, but I still look at you and think, you got them through lockdown GCSEs and all that kind of stuff, so well done. But there's lots of support for parents as well in this transition to university. So now we're going to bring down our student ambassadors, and they're going to introduce themselves and answer some questions if there are any.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
So my name's Anne, and I'm a second year science student. Hello, my name is Shannon, and I'm a first year population.
My name is Rose. I did medical pharmacology. I've graduated now, and I'm in my third year of medicine. good opportunity now for you guys to ask some questions about current treatment. I'll say to the visitors that these guys are living and breathing the courses that you're interested in. It wasn't that long ago they were sitting where you are on an open day. So they are some of the best people to speak to. Kathy's delivered a fantastic talk today and kind of shared everything about the course itself. But it's really important you get to understand what it's like to be a student in Swansea. You're going to be here for at least possibly 3 years. So do you guys want to talk about your course that you're studying just really briefly?
So I do applied medical sciences and I'm in my second year now, as I said. So I'm currently on the medical pathway. And it's been really great because it's given me exposure to medicine before getting into medicine. I know a lot of people on my course who are doing that module don't necessarily want to go into medicine, but it gives them an insight of what it's like working in the NHS, working as a doctor. And some people might not even choose to do medicine at the end of it, but it helps you get the insight. Plus with AMS, because it's quite broad, you get exposed to lots of different things. I had a psychology module, I had a genetics module, I had a pharmacology module. So you do get quite a wide spectrum of knowledge from it.
Yeah, I do population health and medical science. I'm new, like I just finished my first semester here. It has been great so far. I do enjoy Swansea. I do like being here. Everyone's really kind. And with my course, because we're still learning about fundamentals like biology, psychology, and stuff like that, it won't be until like maybe first semester of next year that we'll probably look into more directed routes. But for now, the lecturers try to get us all at the same level, because many of us have been doing like different A levels and stuff. So for us to all be at the same level so that we're able to like, understand each of the topics together and, progress in our degrees, each of our individual degrees. We all have like shared modules with other people and other courses as well. So you do get to like hear other people's perspectives on their course and what they think about modules and topics that we learn together. So I do find that also really important in helping me learn as well. So, yeah.
I did pharmacology about like 3 years ago. I graduated. So it's been a while and I was the first cohort to do it. So it's probably changed quite a bit. But as someone who I tried to get into undergrad medicine, didn't get the grades, and actually came into Swansea declaring. So, and I originally applied for applied medical sciences, and they had just started the pharmacology program and called up and was like, yeah, you did chemistry, so why not try it out? And as someone who came in with no idea really what pharmacology was, I actually had an amazing time. It was, for me, I liked finding out how drugs worked and how the body gets rid of the drugs, and everything was quite interesting. And not only that, but how your genes can affect how you metabolize a drug and how your body excretes it or how your body absorbs it. I found that really interesting. And then obviously I did the pathways to medicine and actually got into medicine in Swansea as well, which was a great benefit. And now it is an intense course because it's a 4-year accelerated course and you have a lot to learn in that small space of time. But I enjoy it. It's great. You actually get to, especially in your 3rd, 4th year, get to speak to people and stuff like that. And I feel like my undergrad, it was actually great chance for me to, live my life a bit and enjoy life before coming into medicine, because it is an intense course. So yeah, I enjoyed my undergrad a lot.
Some of the types of questions we get asked about is things like accommodation, and Kathy touched on that our guaranteed accommodation offering that we have at Swansea. So if you apply and register for accommodation by the 30th of June, we guarantee everyone an accommodation place, because we've got enough accommodation across our 2 sites, as well as the contract that we have with central accommodation providers in the city centre. So once you have had an offer with us, make sure you register for accommodation by that date, the 30th of June, and then we provide all of the options to you. But I was interested, where did you guys live in your first year of your undergrad degree?
So I also did get into Swansea through clearing, but I was lucky enough to get accommodation on one of the campuses, but not this campus, on the other one, Bay campus. And at first I was a bit concerned because it is obviously a bit of a way away. But I actually found I quite liked the disconnect between where I worked, where I studied and where I lived. And there are loads of bus routes and everything linking the 2 campuses together. So it was really quite accessible at the end of it. But yeah, it was really nice living on Bay campus, studying there, because the beach is well, it's really close here, but it's even closer on Bay. So it was really nice just rolling out and there's the beach right there. But yeah.
I live in private accommodation. I live in the city centre. I did also apply through clearing, but I still managed to get my first choice in my application. So yeah, pretty cool.
In my first year of undergrad, I lived in the student village, which doesn't exist anymore, so I won't tell you about that. And then I lived in my third year, I lived in housing in Bryn Mawr with other people in my course or friends that I made. And then in my first year of medicine, I lived in private accommodation, Severn in city centre, which is really nice, which I really recommend. But it depends, each place has different prices, have different types of rooms. So it kind of depends on like what the pricing situation you're kind of looking at is and what kind of room you would like. So yeah.
Our residential service team are here today, so they are on campus in the information fair that we've got running in Fulton House, so make sure you pop along and have a chat with them. And we do have some availability and things that you can see today as well if you get an opportunity to. But yeah, as you said, budgets, you know, different accommodation based on different budgets. So hopefully that answers that question. And the students' union is another question we get asked a lot. So obviously the courses that you're studying is really important, but we also want you to develop as an individual when you're here at university. You're here for 3 years, and our students' union has a wide breadth of societies you can get involved in. It's a really good option for your 3 years to maybe try something new, try a new skill, try a new sport. And none of your teaching will happen on a Wednesday afternoon. So you'll have protected time on a Wednesday afternoon for sport or for society activities. So are you guys involved in any societies?
So I'm part of Applied Medical Science Society, which is my core society. And all the courses do have their own societies. So that's been really helpful with meeting more of my course mates and people in other years doing the same course as me. I'm also part of Malayali Society, which is my cultural society from back in India. And something else, which isn't really a society, but I'm part of the student-led charity here called Discovery. And that's also really good because you get to do a bunch of volunteering projects. They can either be one-off or long-term. So I, for example, volunteer with young students in the local area doing buddied reading with them, which can be quite a nice opportunity. But also one-off things like litter picking on the beach and gardening and stuff. So there's quite a lot to do.
I'm part of the African and Caribbean Society and the Christian Society and the French speaking society. There are like many types of societies here for like literally anything you can imagine. So yeah, in terms of societies, you're good. Like you've got everything here.
So I do quite a bit. In my undergrad, I was a part of the Medical Pharmacology Society, the Dance Society. I wasn't officially a part of the Baking Society, but I went to a lot of their things. I was a part of the Skating Society for a bit. I did cheerleading for a bit, won sports. I did in my second year of medicine, I did aerial sports. So like I dip feet and everything, get involved. There's like societies for anything, even if a society doesn't exist, you can make one. So when actually my cohort's the one who made the Medical Pharmacology Society, and we made like, I just was on committee helping out, but a lot of them like got together and actually like put in application and stuff like that to student union and got support from that. And yeah,
so it's financially helps you set up a new society. Should you come here and it's something that you're not interested in, you want to develop those skills to build a society, then that's something the students' union support and strongly encourage as well. Has anyone got any questions for our current student?
Have any of you guys studied abroad? Done the goal, is it you call it?
Yeah,
Go.
Yeah, so we've got a dedicated team in the university called Go Global. And our programs at the moment don't have dedicated year abroads currently, but as Kathy mentioned, there's an opportunity where you can go abroad in the summer. So you can do what's called a spin placement, where you can do that either in the UK or abroad. Have any of you guys taken up that opportunity?
I've applied, but I haven't done it yet.
No, I didn't take that opportunity. They do have like you said, the global, which you can do in the summer and go somewhere. And medicine, I don't know if this really applies, but in medicine you do have, they also have a Gambia link where some students here go to Gambia and some Gambian students come here. So there are some like a load of opportunities if you know where to apply and where to go to for you to go abroad and stuff like that. I haven't gotten the chance.
2 years ago, we had a group of students that were studying applied medical sciences. They went over to America and took part in a project where they were bidding against other kind of groups of students as well. And our students, I believe, won the award.
Yeah, we used to do this regularly before COVID. We had a group that would go to Houston and participate in a innovation program and compete as teams, and our students always did amazingly well at that. So but COVID put a dampener on that, and we're just resurrecting that.
There are also like opportunities. So like when I did MedPharm, the British Pharmacological Society, they put on conferences and stuff like that. And I had gone to one with my friend, and it was in Edinburgh, so not that broad, but like still not in Swansea or so. And you get to meet like, you know, other students from different unis, you get to meet professors, researchers. It's a great time to like network and speak to people. And it was generally just a good time. It was really good experience as well. So
Any questions from the international audience you want us to pose?
I think they're absorbing all the information.
Okay, well, I'm conscious of time because we've got a bit of an exciting opportunity next for you to actually get into one of our teaching labs. But before we come on to that, just to highlight, before you leave us today, you've got an opportunity to have campus tours, go and see our sports facilities, our accommodation that we mentioned. We've got a student life hub, which is in the main building, Fulton House, where you registered this morning. You can meet our money advice, our disability and welfare team, our Welsh team, the Go Global team that we mentioned, Go Global Opportunities team. There's colleagues there from the library that can take you around the library as well. So if you've got time this afternoon, that's running as well until 3 o'clock. And then we've also got the opportunity for you to kind of get in touch with us following today. So the email on screen there, study FMHLS, comes to myself and my team. So we look after these courses within medical sciences. And as Kathy mentioned, it will be myself and my team that have looked at your personal statements to help, you know, provide those offers that have already gone out to some of you. And if you do have any concerns or you want some advice and need some support, then please drop us an email. We're in the inbox every day, and we will come back to you as soon as we possibly can. But please follow us on the social media channels because we post regular on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We do things like live student takeovers, for example, and that's a really good insight and opportunity to see what a day in the life of a student is like. But now, it's called blood grouping exercise. It's not real blood, I should say. I should put that out there at the start. But this is an opportunity for the prospective students to actually come and get to see one of our teaching labs. You get to put a lab coat on, and it's run by some of our current students. So it's not lecturous, it's not too intimidating. It's only about a 20-minute, 25-minute session, but it gives you guys an opportunity to see a teaching lab and experience to what it's like to be a student with us in Swansea. It's quite a unique opportunity. I know lots of other universities don't do this, so it's a really good way for you to get a feel to what it's be like. And then you're accompanying visitors, so mum, dads and others. We'll take you to a room next door, but we're going to live stream what's happening in the lab. You'll get to watch it on the screen, and there's plenty of tea, coffee and refreshments and things there as well. You'll be separated only for about 20 minutes, and we'll bring you back together, and there's an opportunity then for you to all go on one of our research tours should you wish to do that at the end of the day as well. So our current students, if you want to take if prospective students want to come down first, and then I'll take the parents to the room where you'll get to watch what they're doing.